everyone. Welcome back to Spirit Talkers.
It's Jay.
We're back with another amazing episode.
Yeah, Stongo.
Tyler? Not yet?
Well, no, I'm kidding. It's been too long.
Yeah.
Seems that way.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
I think. But we had some great episodes beforehand, so go check those out if you have not yet. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, Spirit Talkers and everything. We had my favorite one now is the animal episode. And the story shared on that one.
The pets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
got
pets.
a lot of feedback on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot more stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny. We put these things out, like on Instagram, or we put them out on Facebook. I'm like, send us your stories. And we get some stories, and then the episode comes out. And then, after that, you get, a ton more stories.
Mm.
But
In damn time.
You know it.
Well, the dream one was cool, too. I posted a few clips on our TikTok of Chris talking about dreams. And it, I guess it went kind of viral. Got about 80,000 views as of right now.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
You're famous.
You like that, Chris?
I thought it was cool.
You don't like it? No, I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, everybody's pretty cool on that one. I don't think there's a lot of negative stuff on, but it's just a lot of agreeing with what was said, and then just everybody saying that guy has a calming voice.
I got a lot of messages off of that too. They all wanted dream interpretations and stuff. And the thing I always say is, I kind of recommend that they go see someone in their area. But if they can't, I'll be more than happy to, because a lot of the way I interpret things are for Musco Creek, the symbols and all the things. But, I know it's pretty much general. I know I always give them the Indian version. Then I give them the white man version. I don't know if that's proper to say it like that way, but I guess I should say the clinical way of describing dream interpretations, the medical way of doing that. Mm-hmm. So I give them kind of two versions. And most of the time, those two versions are kind of similar, so they kind of back up with which both of them say. So
yeah. I know the first thing you give them, though, is you hit them with the $59.99. And then you hit them with the Cash App. I got PayPal.
Dang.
No personal checks.
God.
You type it out till the middle and it cuts off.
Dang.
To continue, $59.99.
Man. Or a bologna sandwich and hot chips. No. God.
Or Spirit Talkers jerseys for the homies.
Yeah,
that's right.
there you go.
Chris got that Spirit Talker jersey on right there.
Yeah, check that.
OU colors.
Yep.
God, don't say that. Well, I have to take it off now. Yeah.
Got that at the game.
Man, be sitting here with no shirt on. My gut just hanging out, boy. No.
Well, our views will skyrocket.
God, they'll be saying, put that shirt back on, guy. Put that shirt back on.
Somebody say, kill the light. It's greasy. Got that shine.
God, so I had to wipe my screen off like that, boy.
What is that? Screen kept getting greasy.
Yeah. It's like somebody smeared Vaseline all over it.
No, the dream one was good too because I had a few people that contacted me as well about just some of the stuff we're talking about. Like I was saying in that episode of maybe you forget your dream, but for some reason, if you're listening to something or you hear something, then you remember it. So I've had a few of those where it was like, hey, you guys did that dream episode and I don't know why, but it sparked back the memory of this dream I had. And they told me that dream, and I was like, "That's crazy." I was like, "Cause I know it's real, but to hear it from somebody else that with the things we said or something that just sparked that memory of I had this dream before, and now I can fully remember it." Which is, it's just it's crazy to think about. It's kind of scary. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I'd like to say, just a couple weeks ago, I went down to Seminole Nation Days, and I want to thank Jeremy Fultz and the chief and the assistant chief for inviting me to come down for that event. Again, boy, I'm real impressed with Seminole Nation, all the things that they've got going on. That festival, that Seminole Nation Day celebration was awesome. They had native bands. Those native bands either had a Seminole tribal member in it, or they were all native. And they had so many different variations of bands, from country to rock to rap to all kinds of form of music there, and that was very impressive. I know I'm not saying anything bad about any of these tribes, but they'll get these major bands coming in. None of them are native. Which is I see that as good too. But again, promoting our native people is also awesome too. And you see a lot of talent. And I was real impressed with Seminole Nation because I've always tried to do these at shows. Try to make it kind of like a wrestling type, scene, having that thump of music coming. Then I step out, and we tried to do that at Pawnee. Again, it's, I don't know if it's just how we explain it to them or what. They just don't have that philosophy of real hyping up a crowd, and man, those guys had them people hyped up. I was about ready to punch somebody in the face. I was so pumped up. I was up there, and I said, man, that's awesome. They had the crowd just going. That band that started off. I mean, that was cool to follow them, and I was so pumped up, man. I was talking real fast and everything, but again, I appreciate that, and they gave us a lot of compliments. I had a lot of elders come up, well-respected elders in the area. They showed nothing but love, not only for me, but for the podcast. The thing that they really liked about it was their whole family can sit down and listen to it. And they can all learn something from it, and it was good to hear that we have whole families out there. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for out there that's listening and giving us, help, and sending in stories. We couldn't do this without you guys, and we appreciate it. And this is a podcast that, belongs to all Indian communities. And you guys remember that, we're natives here, and we're doing this for natives. So again, the further we go up, the further we're going to take y'all with us. So again, I appreciate that. Aho and Mado.
And what's up, Jeremy Fultz?
Yep.
It's been a while since I've seen him. Did he tell any scary stories?
No, he actually lost his voice up there. I guess he was emceeing a lot of stuff, and I tried to help him out a little bit, but man, they had a lot of things going on,
Looked like it.
And dang, I was like, that was just amazing, And another thing, all the people up there, it's cool when you hear people starting, honka. That was awesome. And I mean, you think only a few people listen, or not too many people listen, but again, I know we got a lot of listeners down there in Seminole Nation. So again, Mado.
Shout out to Seminole Nation. Thank you for tuning in and checking us out. But we have some listener stories. Like Tyler said, a few were sent in after the episodes, which is fine because we'll read them, and then we'll probably even do like part twos.
For sure.
We might, if we do part twos, and we may dedicate that whole episode to the stories that we get or new information we may get. I don't know. It's still a work in progress, but what's this one, Tyler?
This one is a ghost dog story. This one comes from Kayla Foster, and she should get a job as a writer because she wrote the most incredible story. I think I even said that, when I'm in my response, I'm like, "Do you write for a living? Because you should." But this is about her dog called Pig. It says the story I wanted to share with you tonight is actually my parents' story because it happened exactly 9 months to the day before I was born in Ohio, where my parents were living. Now, for some backstory, my parents can't get along or agree on anything nowadays. But as much as they hate each other, they both still stand by the events of this night. So before I came along, my parents were married for 7 years and together for even longer. I'm their only child, but before me, my parents had a dog, a pit bull named Sheba. But that was their baby, and they affectionately called her Pig. My parents took this dog with them everywhere. She was extremely intelligent and protective and is credited with literally saving my mom's life on at least 2 occasions that are crazy stories in themselves. She was their pride and joy, and to this day, my dad's prized photo isn't one of me, and she's like, LOL. It's one of Sheba standing tall and strong with his pet snake draped around her neck. All of this to say that Sheba was a special dog. The neighborhood kids would even come by the house and just ask if Sheba could come out and play. But the night that I'm writing about is the night that Sheba died. My parents had just managed to gather enough money for a down payment on a tiny little 2-bedroom house in 1989. Shortly after moving into their new home, things started to go wrong. The ceiling in the dining room fell in, the lights in the house were flickering, the glass in their table split and could no longer be used. My mom said it was like that house was telling her that they weren't welcome there. And within 30 days of being there, my mom had noticed a black spot on Sheba's throat and took her to the vet. To my mom's horror, the vet asked my mom whether or not Sheba could have been poisoned by someone or something, and gave her 2 doses of medication to combat any possible poison she may have been given, and Sheba seemed to at least be feeling okay. My mom took her home and hoped for the best, knowing that for the time that she had done everything in her power. But on the night of March 31st, 1989, my parents were intimate, and I know that this is a strange bit to include in the paranormal story, but my mom has always felt that there was some connection in these events. She said that something was very different about this night, almost like there was an exchange of souls in the room that night. One soul was making its way in as another took its leave. Now remember, this was 9 months to the day before I was born. And as my parents and Sheba laid down to sleep that night, Sheba was in the bed with them as normal, but my mom heard her jump down and crawl under the bed, which was very unlike her. Worried, my mom got down on the floor and whispered, "Sheba." And all my mom heard was a long exhale in response. And she screamed, and from under the bed, she began to pound on her chest, trying to desperately to revive her. But it was too late, and all at once, that small black spot on Sheba's throat spread until her entire neck was shrouded in darkness. My dad woke up around this time to the sound of my mom's crying, and 2 of them held their sweet Pig as she passed on. Because it was March in Ohio, it was still very cold and wet. The ground was hard, and my dad struggled to break ground that night. And it took him several hours, but he was eventually able to lay Sheba to rest on my parents' new property. My parents were both obviously devastated and didn't really sleep that night. By early morning, my mom was surprised by the sound of a car honking outside. Now, for years, our front door to the house had a skeleton key broken off in the lock, and we just never got it fixed. Too poor, I guess. So my mom had to walk out the back door and up the driveway to see that my dad's mom, her boyfriend, and my dad's younger brother had driven all night from Tennessee. My mother had no prior knowledge of this visit, and when my grandma laid eyes on her, she said, "You look at you coming out barefoot and pregnant," but my mom just waved her off. But now this is where things get weird. As I said, my family had come to visit from Tennessee, unbeknownst to my mom, and she had taken off work due to just how upset she was, and partially to entertain my dad's family. My dad kept messing with the grave out back, which was just upsetting my mom even more, that he was spending so much time out there while she was dealing with everything going on inside. She said that she went to go look at him through the back door to see what exactly he would still be doing out there. Our wooden back door was open, and just as the outer storm door stood between my mom and the outside. In the colder months, the storm door had glass at the top instead of a screen to help keep out the cold just a little bit better. And when my mom approached the door, she could see that something had been written in the condensation on the glass. Above her head in the glass, someone had written 3 letters, and as she drew closer, she could see that it read pig. My mom's eyes began to swell with tears, and as she thought angrily about what my dad would think about. Sorry. My mom's eyes began to swell with tears as she thought angrily about why my dad would think writing Sheba's nickname on the glass where she could clearly see it would be okay. But then she noticed that the condensation wasn't running at all from the word the way it almost always does. Typically, a word or an image becomes almost unrecognizable quickly from the runoff. She held her own fingertips to the glass next to pig for just a second and watched as the little droplets formed and ran straight down the glass like little tears. It was like the glass around pig has somehow colder than the glass just to both sides of it. Still confused and wanting to make sense of this, my mom charged out back and demanded to know why my dad would do such a thing to upset her. He told her that he hadn't, and of course she already knew this. He had been outside, to her annoyance, messing with Sheba's grave non-stop, and the writing was facing inward, as if whoever had written it had stood where she stood just moments earlier. She stormed back to the house to the living room, where my uncle was sitting with my grandma and her boyfriend. "Why would you write pig on the door?" she asked. He seemed generally confused and adamantly denied that he would ever do something like that, and my grandma added further that he hadn't even left the couch. My mom was left to face what she had already knew, and that no one in the house had written it, at least no one in the physical. I asked my mom to retell me the story before writing it up for you because I wanted to make sure I got it all right. And 33 years later, my mom was still fighting back tears. We can't make sense of what happened to Sheba or who wrote pig in the glass. Was Sheba simply poisoned by something, or was there something else going on? I don't know if the writing in the glass was somehow meant to be a goodbye, or if something more malevolent, I can't say that word, malevolent was taunting my mother. Either way, I have always believed that Sheba was special in more ways than just that she was intelligent. I truly believe without her, my mother would likely not be alive today, and I don't say this lightly. Sheba protected my mother so that she could live to be my mother, and when it was my time to arrive, Sheba took her leave. I hope you enjoy the story, and if you do use it, that your listeners do as well. Keep up all the good work that you guys do. Watto. So that was an awesome story.
Sheba.
Yeah. Pour some out for Sheba, 'cause that's a great story. That's
I wonder
awesome.
what that was, the black spot.
I don't know.
on
Have you
her
ever
neck.
heard of anything like that?
And it spread to her whole body after
Well,
she took
just
that
around
last
her
breath?
neck. It was a small spot, and then it, spread through her whole throat, is what it said in the story.
There's I don't know how you would explain it. I guess the best way to say it is it's kind of like a demonic spirit or a demonic spell. I can put that on you, and not only will it do that, but it'll cause sores and like boils and stuff like that. That kind of these kind you'll know when you get them because they're gonna be unusual. They're not gonna be like normal sores or breaking out in hives. Mm-hmm. You're gonna know these are different. And that's kind of what that's kind of referring to. But there's all tribes have different names for it. But again, these are some of the things that you shouldn't really mention. So,
When I was reading that story to her when she first sent that to me, it really it reminded me of a story that happened to a dog that I had. I think I told you guys about when we just kind of went through a tough time there, and I ended up having to move from Coweta to Broken Arrow. And we moved into this house off Main Street in Broken Arrow, and it's anybody knows that area. I mean, these houses are old. Some of them are built back in like the 20s. And we moved into this old house. I don't know exactly what the date on. I know at some point on the bricks somebody had scratched in like 1943, so it's at least that old. It maybe older than that. But long story short, we had a bulldog, and was real healthy, real active, you know. And then when we moved into that house, that dog changed. Like it would like became real skittish all the time. Like it almost had anxiety. Like it couldn't settle down. Like it was just always just kind of like, at first I thought, well, maybe it's just because it's hardwood floor, and you know, she's not used to her toenails, like, you know, hitting the hardwood floor, because she wouldn't even want to walk around. Like she would just like, you know, just act. Like I said, the only way I could really explain it is like she had just real bad anxiety all the time. And then all of a sudden, like, patches of hair would fall out, and like spots and like clumps. And the weirdest thing was she had like this big sore on her paw one time. And I was just like, and she would just like limping. And I was like, let me see that. And this is going to sound kind of gross, but like she could barely put like weight down on it. And so I picked it up, and it was like this big old growth. And I just kind of pressed on it a little bit, and just like all these little white worms like spread out. It like shot out of it like a zit. And she just yelped, and I was just like, I felt so bad. But yeah, she got real sick. And the same thing, like I wasn't sure she was going to make it, you know. And then we had some other stuff that happened. I had to move out of that house into an apartment, and she was fine after that. She just like bounced back. But I do think to this day, man, that house is still there. There was just some not good stuff that happened. Like our cat disappeared. Remember I was telling y'all that? Mm-hmm. That happened to our dog. Like there was just some personal stuff that happened there that I don't really want to get into, but it was just like there was a bad, you know, mojo, I think, around that house. And I'm glad that we got out of it when we did, or I got out of it.
Is that the cat that you said be cool and it just walked off?
yeah. And we kept that house, you know, and you know, like I said, like we kept the cat in the house like 2 weeks, you know, because they said like don't just let him go, because it was mainly an outside cat, so that they kind of know where this is your home, this is where you live now. Yeah, and I remember taking that cat, putting him on a porch. He walked down, like it's almost like a scene in a movie, man. He like walked through the street light, and he stopped. I was like, Thomas, and he stopped, and he just like looked back over his shoulder. And I was like, be cool, man. Like, you know, see you later or whatever. And he just took off, man. I never saw that cat again. We had another cat that died mysteriously too. We still think it was the neighbor though, but I don't know, man. We had another cat called Gray Skull, and our neighbor I still think it was the neighbor though that turned us in or something, but our neighbor kept squirrels. She liked squirrels, and I think the cat got one of her squirrels, and she came over holding this dead squirrel. It was like, look what your cat did to my squirrel, you know. And then like a couple days later, man, that cat was gone too. So we lost 2 cats and almost lost a bulldog. Same house. But I don't have any proof that she took our cat, but it was just weird, man, that all those things happened, you know, in the same house. But I guess
coincidentally.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll have to go to that house.
It's still there.
People live there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, people live there. It was a creepy house, man. I hung up a bat house, too, on the back of it. Like, I had to climb way up. It was a 2-story house. And that bat house is still there. You can see it from the library in Broken Arrow. Yeah, you can see it from there. That's how close it is. But there was some bad juju in that house, I'm telling you.
Let's go there. Right now. I'm glad you got out of that house.
Yeah, just down the street, too, from where you're at.
Hey, whoa. Now.
That's Russell Sun Eagle.
Right next door.
Right, yeah. Oh, by the way, that would be a good episode, though, like old haunted houses like that around here, you know.
I'd like to hear more about if there's a possibility of how many, or like the possibilities of like, because I don't hear too much about haunted houses around here. Yeah. But you look around here and it looks pretty normal. Yeah. But I don't hear of any like stories like the one you just told me about that house.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, man, even our landlord. So our landlord bought it to flip it, you know, and even when they were trying to repair it, like it was a nightmare. and he was just kind of getting into the house flipping game. And he's like, man, I just turned into a rent house. He's like, because it was keeping him upside down on it, because every time he put money into it, something else would happen. And so he's like, I just turned it in, couldn't sell it right away because he was putting so much money into it. Because, he said he would took out this old fireplace and he was going to rebuild the fireplace. And then they got the fireplace built, and then the next day or next week or something like that, there's like a huge crack that went straight up the middle of a brand new fireplace. And he was just like, the guy's like, can you fix that? And he's like, no, I'm gonna have to tear it all down. So he's like, well, I just took the fireplace out and put a bay window in there. So it was just like little things like that. Like every time he would try to go to repair it or something, like something else would happen to it. And but he was a cool guy. He was from England. And when we ended up losing that house, he was one of the nicest guys. I went through one of the hardest times of my life, and he really helped me out. So yeah, he's a good guy. I still am friends with him on Facebook, and he's just like, if you ever want to go out, because he was very understanding about my situation. So super cool guy. But
shout out to him.
Graham knew.
I was gonna say, if we could, if y'all want us to do haunted houses on the Halloween episode, let us know.
Be careful, guy. They might say this address. No.
This exact house.
Man, this exact room that y'all record in. No.
Somebody watching. Well, I didn't want to say anything about that room you're in.
Don't pull that carpet. Don't pull that
carpet.
Here's
my
back.
Story about that room you're sitting in right now. Or if you have any suggestions about what you would want to hear on a Halloween episode, let us know. I know we've covered a lot already, but if y'all want more of a episode we did or a new thing, I don't know. We're down. We're down for that. So just let us know. But I have a story right here. My son, his name's July. We would go to Duck Creek Ceremonial Ground with his dad. He said him and his older brother saw a pair of glowing eyes looking at them from the woods. He said another time one night they were out there and there was a boy they had never seen out there before trying to get them to go out into the woods. He said that boy really kept trying to get them to go and they wouldn't. At some point, they noticed the boy wasn't even around anymore, and they never saw him before or since. My son thought it was an LP or some kind of entity trying to get them to go. And let's see, I used to go visit. I'll just say I used to go visit. I don't know if it's a place, but visit here with an ex. He liked to sit off by himself. I saw out for a dance and so was sitting there by myself with no one else around, and it's all wide open. No trees or other people or anything. I had just sat down and knew no one was near me. I heard someone whisper my name in my ear like the person was bent down right behind me. I didn't move or look back or nothing. LOL. And then that was her story, and then the first one was her son's story. And she just said like he'll get a kick out of reading the story. So, yep. He doesn't know if that was an entity or LP trying to get them to come out in the woods.
But for that story, and I think that's a great lead-in for our topic today.
Yeah.
Our topic today is mimicking spirits, and what that means is spirits that either look like people or look like you, or they look like animals. And they try to trick you into doing things. Especially in Native American culture, these used to be big time stories that you would hear sitting around the fire. Now, I don't hear them too often these days, but, again, I know a lot of that kind of knowledge is passing away, is going. But, I know, with the Muskogee Creeks, we've got a lot of entities out there that will do that, try to trick you, just like they were explaining in that story, trying to lead you off into the woods for you never to be seen again, or worse, they'll put something on you, so when you go back, you'll have all kinds of bad luck, sickness, just bad things, and again, there's a lot of entities out there that can do these kind of things. A lot of people, today, the thing that you'll hear a lot about is those doppelgangers. The ones that, they see, I guess our non-native people will say, yeah, I seen so-and-so, look just like you. Yeah, but he was different, it's your twin, and that's kind of in the same boat, again, they always say if you see your own, it can be super bad luck, might even cause death if you see that person that you really look like. But again, I know there's several people that I know that look alike, and they're always intermingling or and I don't never see anything bad happen to them. But not to say that I don't know them that well, so they might have bad things going on. But yeah, those doppelgangers, that's kind of a worldwide phenomenon. I think that the word itself is what is it, German or Dutch, something like that. And again, there's several other beings out there. Like Russell read in that stories like LPs. They also have things that are across the waters in Europe that they call what do they call them? Changelings. And again, those are for native people. Again, that refers to like your LPs, your trolls, your fairies. All those kind of entities that they'll mimic things. They'll even mimic animals. Like your favorite pet. You might be following your pet. Lead you down to somewhere bad, or it'll take you off. Then it'll reveal itself of what it's really doing, and it get you like that. There's several stories. There's a story around that Henrietta, Oklahoma area. They have this area that they call Tiger Mountain. And they say in those back roads back there, there's a entity out there. Sometimes it'll look like a dog. It'll go across the road, but it'll stop and it'll look at you. And, for some reason, you'll want to stop and get out, and either talk to it, or it draws you out of your vehicle. And some say, it shows up as a little child. But they say it's the same thing. And the way that you'll know that this isn't how you say a real animal is because it has hollow eyes. And the same way with it changing into a kid or a woman or a young man or something, he'll have hollow eyes. And that's what I always think about when they talk about, what do you call it, the black-eyed children. Again, there's a lot of Creek stories that, when I hear all these other entities out there, just like I said, those children with black eyes, Creeks had stories, and this dates back way, in our homelands. They had stories and songs that talk about those things, and again, these are very common things that you'll hear about, within Indian country. Nowadays, again, they're taking on the Americanized versions of them with Americanized names. But every tribe basically had, something similar to those black-eyed children, whether it was children or adult or even elder. They even talked about animals, that had those hollow eyes. You'll know the difference, even if you hear them talk about shapeshifters, those skinwalkers. A lot of times they'll talk about how they have those hollow eyes. Once that medicine man goes that far, he's not human anymore. He can't change back. But what he can do is he can what do you say, kind of mimic, a human. And a lot of times they'll say, if I mimic you and I take you off, then what I'm after is your skin. And then after I take you from this world, I will wear your skin. And then again, you have those hollow eyes. Mm-hmm. Again, it's the same philosophy as those black-eyed children. All these beings, have these abilities, and again, there's tons of stories out there about black-eyed children and doppelgangers and LPs and these fairies and these certain kind of what they would call trolls. Again, Europeans, they call them changelings. There's a movie that's named that, and it's I don't know, Tyler, can you talk about that movie?
Well, I have it, but I haven't seen it yet. I just picked it up not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I haven't had a chance to watch it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been busy. But it's on my pile of to-watch list.
Yeah. If you get a chance, you guys definitely want to check that out. There's several other movies I can't think off the top of my head that deal with beings that, try to look like you or look like animals. And to me, that's kind of the most scariest thing. I got a story from a listener, and she talks about her mom when she was a little girl. She's around the Wisconsin area. That's all I can say about this. But anyway, she said her mom, when she was a little girl, she took her dog out to go use the restroom. And this was late at night. And she walked at the end of the driveway to let the dog out. Was watching it. And she said she saw this cat come out of the dark. And it whispered her name. And at first she said, she thought, she just imagined it. And it said it again. And by the third time it said her name, she already headed back inside, called the dog. Dog come running in. And she said that thing stood out there in the driveway for a long time. And again, she noticed it had hollow eyes.
And that was a cat?
No.
It turned into a...
It was just a cat.
Oh, and it just sat out there?
Yeah, and it said her name 3 times. And I said, wow, that's pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. But, again, there's even those Ho Chunks and Winnebagos, they got names for that thing too. And, they have ways of dealing with those things. Again, those are not such good things, to run across. There was a story that I got from a guy that was in Germany, and he was stationed over there during the military. They were doing military drills over there. And anyway, this area that they were in Germany, that was kind of like where, well, of course, all of Germany has those places where they had those concentration camps, but I think this was one of there's like a famous area. I can't remember the name of it. Is it Auschwitz? Or something? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'm not pronouncing it right or whatever, but anyway, it's a famous place, that they had those Jewish camps, and they were stationed there for some reason doing drills and stuff. And anyway, on his spare time, when I guess they're like working, like 8, I don't know what their hours are, but he was off. He done his shift, and he on his break time, he would go around looking around, doing stuff, and some places, some of the locals would tell him, "Be careful, you might run across this thing that we have over here, and it it changes into people, and it'll cause sickness and death." And he wasn't really believing in any of that stuff. But again, he was a young man. He just wanted to go out and see things while he was in different country and stuff. And he went over there and he come back to his where they sleep. Their, I don't know what you call it, camp, or their whatever they call it. And he said he would see people that he knew was there, but they were different. They would talk different, and they were kind of mean. And he would just ignore them because, on his time off, his goal was to go out and see more of Germany, and I guess they would have like long weekends and stuff. So, when it came to the weekends, he was ready to go. But, sometimes some of those things would show up and they would act different than the person that it actually was. And the reason he knew it wasn't them was because there was a couple times he started to confront them. He kind of walked away because he didn't want to fight them. He kind of walked off to kind of cool down. Then he came back and he talked to that individual. He said, "I ain't never seen you." He said, "I was doing my job. I had to work, blah, blah, blah." And that wasn't them that, he supposedly said certain things or did something to him. And, he had that happen to him on several different occasions. And anyway, make a long story short, he was over there for a long period of time, and this started to happen, pretty frequently. But what was crazy was he said that people started complaining that he was acting up, that he was trying to start fights with people. And he said, "That wasn't me." He said, he said, on the weekends when I have my break, I'd go off into town or I'd go somewhere else. I wouldn't even stay on barracks. I would go somewhere else. And so that wasn't me. I know that wasn't me. And so sooner or later, he kind of put one and one together, and he said, they warned me not to go over here because, you might run across some things like that. And again, there's several different stories like that. Even here in the United States, you'll hear, stories, like that. Again, over here, they always refer it to as doppelganger. So I don't know if you guys got any of those kind of stories.
I was going to ask you, so how would I say it? Like spirits and possibly LPs, could they change their, I guess, what they look like and to present itself to you?
Yes, that's correct.
And okay, so I was trying to figure out a way to say it because, okay, so this is kind of a weird story. I was in high school still. In Pawnee, the old BIA gym, the gym inside the BIA building. Mm-hmm. So I went there by myself, and I mean, it's pretty creepy there anyways. You always hear stories about the BIA building and then the gym and then the basement that's beneath the gym. But it was open, and I remember we used to go play ball there just for fun. So I wasn't doing nothing. I'm pretty sure I was a senior at that time, so football was over with, and I wasn't doing anything like at 2:30. So I went over there, and I got a basketball, and I just started shooting around. I don't know, just to kill time, and all of a sudden, like, I heard something coming from the basement, like footsteps, it sounded like. And I stopped bouncing the ball, and I looked at the closet where the basement, like, door comes out of. And I was waiting to hear it again, and I didn't hear anything. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm just maybe I'm tripping. So I started bouncing the ball again, shooting. And when I started bouncing the ball again, it happened again. And it was like getting closer up. I could tell it was coming up closer to where I was on a level. And I stopped again, and it stopped. And I was like, all right, maybe I should get out of here. And so I just kind of, I was like, no, I was like, man, it's daytime. I was like, people are still here. It's only 2:00, so maybe it's a worker. So I wasn't like tripping. I was on the verge of like getting freaked out and scared, but I was like, you know what? It's probably nothing. It's probably somebody down there working or somebody in these offices messing around or something. And so I just started shooting again. And man, like I know I heard it like fully as I started like shooting around, and I was pretending not to notice it, not pay attention. But I heard it come up, and I heard like there's a bunch of stuff in that closet. So whatever it was maneuvering over all this debris and trash that was in there. And then I was like bouncing the ball, and I was like, oh my God, whoever that is it's coming. And I was bouncing the ball, and then I heard it. It sounded like a person, but what came out of that closet was a little dog. A little bitty dog. Like the size, bigger than, I think it was like what is it called? Jack Russells. Mm-hmm. I think it was a Jack Russell dog, and it just came out, and it was white and had brown spots on it. It looked healthy, like nothing was wrong with it, and it was just wagging its tail. And then I was like, was that you, little buddy? And then I wasn't thinking anything of it, and I just kind of petted it. And then as I got done petting it, it just went back down into the basement, and I never saw it again. And I've been down in that basement, and it's crowded, and it's not livable down there, which is crazy. And so I remember that from that time, and it was like, I think about it every now and again, and I thought about it when we were going to do this episode, and I was like, maybe that was like I don't know, like a spirit or LP or something that came up to see what I was doing, making all this ruckus, bouncing the ball and stuff at a not time when, because we usually went there in the evening times and night times and played ball, and this was like in the daytime, about 2:00, 3:00. And so I was just like thinking of that. And then when you were talking about animals and stuff like that, maybe taking form like that cat did, whispering that name, I was like, dang, that dog could have whispered my name or something. Yeah. But I don't know, but it just went back down, and I never ever saw it again. It was crazy.
I got this message from individual across the waters, from Japan, and they have entities over there. And again, I might be pronouncing it wrong, but it's Yoki, and it's a spirit that likes to mimic things, that likes to turn into something that's going to lead you off to hurt yourself. And this thing they have stories. It's an ancient being, it's all through a lot of their history that these things show up. Sometimes when they go through their woods and different things, they talk about that suicide forest. And they say there's one that lives there that causes people to do those kind of things, and that's one of the spirits that live in that forest. And again, this individual said that you even see them in town, these big cities that they have there in Japan. So again, that's pretty crazy. You can run into these in the highly populated area, so I think that's pretty cool. So
yeah, it reminds me of a story I read. I don't know if y'all know who Jackie Chan is, the movie star. Do you know Jackie Chan?
Who's that?
You don't know Jackie Chan. All right. Well, I
read. That's how you know I'm a mimicking spirit, huh? Who?
Yeah. Who are you? The real Russell knows who Jackie Chan is. Nah, but he was talking about when he was coming up. He struggled a lot, but when he found fame, he said, he acted like, he was famous. Like he would go out and he was real brash and real like showy offy and real kind of full of himself. And well, anyway, long story short, he got hired at Golden Harvest, which was the company that Bruce Lee had worked for, and they still had all the production offices there. And they told him like, you can basically have the whichever office you want. You just can't have Bruce's office because he's still there. It's haunted. You don't want to go in that office. And he was like, wrote in his book. He's just like, that's bunch of honky. I just I'm Jackie Chan, and I'm gonna move into Bruce's office because I'm gonna be bigger than he is, And but he said sometimes he would have too much to drink and he would go back to the office instead of going back to his house, and he would fall asleep in there. And he said that there was like a hallway, almost like an alleyway, and he said that like you could hear something walking up and down that hallway. He said he heard it one night, and he said he got real scared, and he kind of crawled over to look under the door, and you could see like a shadow just kind of pacing back and forth outside of his office. And he said then he woke up the next day, and he was scared obviously, and then he woke up the next day and he looked outside and there was a cat in the hall in that alleyway, and it came into his office and just run around the office. He said almost like he knew, like he'd been in there before, or like he knew where things were, where he was going, like he'd done it 100 times before. And he said he really kind of maybe thought that might have been Bruce, paying him a visit and letting him know that it was okay that he could have his office. And then when that cat left, he said it never happened again.
Dang.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. He said that cat came in and like jumped up on the desk and, let him pet him and, whatever. Like it had been there. There was a couch, went over on the couch and messed around and then left. And he said then after that, he never had any problems sleeping there or having any other kind of ghosts. Maybe it was Bruce like seeing who's in my office.
Dang. There's another being that this individual talked about. And again, I might be pronouncing it wrong. But forgive me for that. He wrote Oni, O-N-I. I don't know how you would say that. But anyway, this one's more of a demonic spirit. And the Japanese believe that this spirit came from China, when they did, they took over China and, they did some things, and they thought this was like a curse that those people put on them, that it roams, throughout Japan. And according to this individual, this again, it can look like yourself. It can look like, someone close to you. And it's just there to torment people, to do off the wall kind of things. And he said this one, you'll hear a lot of stories and you'll see depictions of it crawling up stairways or wallways, and but that's an actual being that they believe in, and it mimics people and animals and all kinds of things. And he said it goes back to like Buddhism and stuff. So he said that it's quite a bit of stuff, that history on that kind of entity, but he said it's real demonic type, evil type spirit, and all it is there is to trick you to hurt yourself or hurt someone else.
Yeah, there's a movie actually. I was looking it up. I wasn't sure what the date on it is, but it was made in 1964. It's called Onibaba, and it's kind of about that. It's about like this woman who kills these two samurai, and then like takes their goods and sells their goods to like this other person, and then like the ghost of those samurais come back to like haunt her for killing them, and like they wreck her life basically. Like she has an affair and like she does all these really terrible things, but they like haunt her for the rest of the movie. It's pretty good, man. I've only seen it a couple of times, but it's good. Yeah.
What's that? Oni?
It's called Onibaba.
Onibaba.
Onibaba. Onibaba. Onibaba.
Is that on Tubi?
I don't know. I have to DVD.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Oh.
Criterion version. I'm bougie.
Whoa.
Yeah, you know.
What's that movie Mimic about? Is that about?
You know, I've never seen it actually.
I've never watched
seen
it. I always got that one in Relic.
Yeah.
Is it the
Yeah,
Relic
the
mixed
Relic.
up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy one.
Yeah.
But Mimic, it's on Tubi, I think, but I never just sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
I should have watched it because it says Mimic.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's actually about maybe something mimicking people to where it takes them or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I got one from Celtic Man, and I'm assuming that's Irish,
Celtic.
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 And again, I might have this pronunciation wrong, but it's the Dulhan, and this is also an evil spirit that likes to change into people, and it just kind of like takes over your home and does all kinds of crazy things, causes sickness and bad luck. But it can look like, your friend, look like you. But he said if it turns into you, it looks like you, then you're going to die pretty short after seeing yourself. So
Whoa.
I don't know if that's where they get, like doppelganger,
Yeah.
you see yourself. It can be seriously bad or whatever.
Yeah. All this reminds me of like one of my favorite old Muskogee stories, and I've heard it told, a couple of different ways. One is just, one hunter that goes out and he's just going to go hunting for like the season or whatever, and he's got set up for a camp. It's just him and his dog. And I think I've told it on here before, I think, where that little boy, so at night, he's getting ready to go to bed, and this little boy comes out of the woods and he's crying, and he's like, I'm hungry, can you feed me? And the hunter's like, yeah, come on over here. And then, he does that for 4 days straight. And on the fourth day, a little boy comes back and he says, I'm hungry, can you please feed me? And that's when his dog says, that's not what you think it is, And he says, what do you mean? He said, that thing is going to get you tonight. And he's like, oh, whatever, and they go to sleep. And then that witch, he turns into a witch, and he chases that man through and kills the hunter and chases this dog into like this hollow log, and his claws are sticking in to that log, and the dog bites off the claws of that witch. But the other way I've heard it too is it's two guys, and they got in trouble with their wives, and their wives sent them out, to get out of the house, whatever, and they're camped out or camped up, and then they're kind of sitting around this fire, and they start missing their wives. And they say that's like in Muskogee, like you're not supposed to do that, like you're not supposed to miss somebody, but they start missing their wives, and kind of feeling bad for whatever happened. And then the two wives appear out of the woods, and they like, oh, we're so sorry, we didn't mean what we said, and and they go into the tents, I guess, or whatever, and they're intimate, and then in the moment of intimacy they kill both men and turn into witches too, and kill both men. So I've heard it told those two ways. There's more to it than that, but I'd have to kind of go back and look at my notes. But anyway, those are the two stories I've heard about like mimicking spirits, or
This individual also sent us one. He called it the Fear Gorda, and this one is more of a evil demonic entity, and this one, it likes to look like children. But again, he said you'll know it's not because it has the hollow eyes. And he said when those things start coming around, they just basically torment you to death. This one's pretty cool. This is from Omar. Not the Omar that usually sends in. This is a different Omar. I don't know if I should even say the name, but I'm gonna chop it up because I know I'm probably not saying it right. But he wrote it's called the Shaitan, and it is so evil. You're not supposed to even whisper its name. And this one basically will torment you to death, but it'll come looking like you. And it'll start out making sounds. It'll start coming around, knocking on things, making sounds. And then you'll start seeing yourself everywhere. And it basically just drives you insane.
Like the Smile entity, that movie Smile.
Oh yeah, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
have you seen that?
I have. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did like it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
He-
The best part was just their promotional tools they were using. Where they like at the baseball game, there would be people just like behind the dugout smiling. That's crazy, man.
He said that's Islam, Islamic or Islam belief. So anyway, he said that's pretty scary, mimicking entity. So
I'd like to get more Middle Eastern stories like that.
they even have different versions of how they say jinn,
Oh yeah.
and some of them are just straight up evil, and they'll mimic humans, and some of them mimic them, lead you off, and then eat you. So they got so many different versions of those things. They got different stories, and Jinn should be one that we should do a show on because a lot of that's like Indian stuff.
Yeah.
That was Jinn. I guess what they used to say. The real name is like genie or something like that. That's where Americans get that genie in the bottle.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, they're basically like LPs. Some of them will give you 3 wishes, and some of them just straight out mean. And there's some that come looking like humans, but they're just there to procreate with humans. So I don't know about that, but anyway, they'll do that. So anyway, there are all different kinds of beings out there that like to mimic things, but anyway.
Can they come to you in your dreams too?
Oh yeah. Like I said, a lot of these things that they're talking about, it torments you night and day. So even in your dreams, you can't get away. So,
well, I had one about. It's probably perfect for this episode, but it's a dream I had when we lived with my brother out in Tahlequah, and it was at the older house he lived in. That house was crazy though. There's a lot of activity that happened in that house, and I think somebody lives there now. I don't know, but I mean, it was if you're listening, don't listen. Yeah. But no, like that house was crazy because I mean, there's just like a lot of things like that happened with lights coming on and off, and then like noises happening. And this one time we were asleep, and me and my brother worked. I worked with my brother at this metal shop here in Tulsa. So we would drive every morning from Tahlequah to here in Tulsa, and we'd wake up at like 4 and drive all the way here and get there by 6. And I remember this dream I had where, dang man, it was storming. It was storming really bad in my dream. And in my dream, I woke up, and it was in my dream in our room, we had a window. You can just see like the lightning flashing outside, and then just like you could hear the thunder in my dream, and it felt so real. And then I remember waking up to my brother hitting the window, like knocking on that window, and he was like, "Russ, let me in, Russ." And I was like, "Hold on." In my dream, I was like, "I'm just not waking up." And he's like, "Let me in." He's like, "I locked myself out." And I said, "Hold on." I was like, "Why'd you lock yourself out?" He was like, "Just let me in." I was like, "All right, hold on." and I was getting my work clothes on, and he kept banging on that window, and I was like, all right. And then he's like, hurry up. And I was like, okay. And then I got my stuff on, and I went in the front room, and I was going to that door. And then his wife was sitting in that chair, and then she was like, don't open that door. And I was like, what? And she said, don't open that door. And I was like, but Scott's out there. And then she was like, that's not him. And like, as soon as she said that, like that screen door opened up, and he was banging on the door. And he was like, let me in. He's like, Russ, let me in. And I was like, that's him. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, that's not him. She's like, I swear it's not him. And I'm like, the room was dark, but the only way I could see was because lightning was flashing in the room, and it was raining so hard. And then I was like, whatever. I was like, I'm just going to let him in. She's like, no, don't. And right when I put my hand on that door, the doorknob, my brother walks in from, I guess, the back room where he was, and he said, don't open that door, it's not me. And I woke up to a thunderstorm happening. Like the exact same setting.
That's crazy.
I woke up to was, I'm actually in reality, and there's a thunderstorm happening. I looked at the window, and man, I kind of got freaked out, and I was like, dude, if somebody knocks on that window, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I mean, nothing happened. And I walked in the front room, and I was waiting on my brother, and then, I don't know, it just kind of freaked me out a little bit. And then on our way to work, I was telling him about that story or that dream. And he was like, yeah. He's like, I don't know what's up with that house, but a lot of crazy stuff happens. And we've had a lot more experiences in that house, but it showed me a lot of stuff in dreams. There's another dream I had where I think I saw whatever it was in my dream. And it was almost like this giant spider-like being or something. It was really weird. I'll have to remember it, but I think that's what was in there. I don't know. But yeah, it was almost like when Bray Wyatt started doing that, let me in. It was almost like that, like, let me in. In that dream, he was like, let me in. He's like, Russ, let me in. And it was almost like I was thinking of like, dang, like, I wonder what that truly meant. Like, let me into your mind, your heart, maybe, or just because maybe it thought I was strong or something. Because I wasn't afraid. I'm not really afraid of stuff. I'm just kind of like, I get freaked out, but I don't let it truly bother me. So maybe it was like trying to get me to freak out or something, or possess me.
Might have just been there to take off with you too. So
True. If I open the door.
You know, I was thinking about, when we was doing this, and I know, like I was telling you, far as the word or the popularity of those doppelgangers, that's fairly new. But a lot of these native stories, they're, all the way from 1400s and even older. So that was way before, all these kind of crazy stories, and I think about that sometimes. These Indians long time ago, they had a lot of knowledge of, these different beings, and these stories are old. They're not like last year or, a couple of years back, whatever. They're old stories. And, even like these ones that we just named that was from these other countries, those are ancient stories from them too. And we've got things just like those. Of course, I'm not going to say those names today, the Indian version of them. But, just like this one said, you don't even whisper its name, or it'll show up and it'll get you. And so, I hope he didn't send me the right spelling. That'd be the first word I actually pronounce right on this show.
I was going to say, Chris, and you just said that name.
Yeah, you didn't even just whisper it, man. You shouted it.
I said, this is Tyler Randall, and this is what I say. No, I'm just kidding.
Blame it on
you want some? Come get some.
So y'all don't know me? Tyler Randall right here. No.
Dang, Tyler. Poor Tyler.
Bring it.
You heard him.
Hey.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, he's not.
So next episode, you'll see him have bald spots all over his head. Be looking pitiful. No.
All patchy.
What was that Jim Carrey character where he did about fire? He had that-
Oh, yeah. Fire Marshal Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be up here. Let me tell you something.
Possessed. That's not Tyler.
Those Hawaiians also have a mimicking spirit, too. You know, they got, volcano gods. And some of them are good, some of them are evil. And they have one of fire that kind of does that. It mimics people. Mm-hmm. But when it takes you with flame. Mm-hmm. So you get burnt up. These are all very good things. But, one thing I want to kind of wrap it up with is, I always said this in previous episodes. You always have good and you always have bad. And we kind of covered a lot of the good and bad, I guess, here and there. But this one, to me, it kind of, I don't know how to say, kind of blows my mind even. Those old ancient natives, old ancient people, Indians, they always had that belief of good and evil. And they believed that everything had its brother or its opposite. So, there might be me as me, and then there's another one, and then you're starting to talk about different realms or different worlds, where there's kind of like how you say, like DC Comic has that
multiverse.
Multiverse, they had that kind of belief too, and so sometimes when the two worlds combine, they say every now and then that this happens, when the moon is right, it opens up that door, and sometimes you might see your other side of you, and that was, kind of an ancient belief that, if you were able to do that, then you can grab more knowledge, because this individual has knowledge of things that you don't have. And you don't hear that kind of stuff anymore either. Well, I just wanted to throw that out there.
That multiverse theory is crazy too. If you watch it like in Marvel's doing it now, right? Mm-hmm. And Mortal Kombat just got to doing that. Mm-hmm. Did you see that story? Mm-mm. Yeah, Mortal Kombat just got to going all in on multiverse and just like a different timeline that they're seeing themselves in and stuff. It's crazy, man. It's crazy to think about that. Rick and Morty do that too, where there's infinite amounts of you in the universe, and they're all like kind of the same, but they're just doing different stuff. I don't know. It's weird.
They still ain't brought back. They're bringing everybody else back, but Nightwolf.
Oh no, yeah, Mortal Kombat, the new one.
Yeah.
That's the one they're doing a timeline in.
Yeah,
the different timelines.
And what about Nightwolf?
No love.
I know. As Indian people, we need to say something. Bring back Nightwolf. No.
Hashtag.
I'm surprised he wasn't in it. Yeah. You'd think he'd be the one to kind of know knowledge of that stuff to bring into that what they're dealing with and stuff, but
I think he's locked up. No, I'm just kidding.
He's in jailbirds. No.
Sitting there like this. No.
That face paint all messed up.
Got that swollen eye and big old lip. No.
But yeah, bring Nightwolf back. He'll probably come back because it's an entirely different timeline now. It's they went all in on that whole. I think Days of Future Past did that first with the whole action hero stuff. X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
If there's like a website or something like that for that Mortal Kombat game, Everybody get on there and comment. Say, what about Night Wolf?
Yeah, bring him back.
Yeah, go to their Facebook page. Say, bring back Night Wolf. Who's Jackie Chan? No, just kidding. But yeah, so let everybody know where to follow y'all.
You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube as Christopher Honka Hill, and on Facebook, Christopher Hill. Hello.
You can follow me at Tyler Randall on Facebook, and you can follow me on Skoden_cinema on Instagram, and also have Pump Action _podcast, giving you recommendations of movies to work out to.
Oh,
Yeah.
follow me at Okie Podcast at Rustimus49. You could add me on Facebook. It's getting kind of slim in there now. I'm almost at the 5,000 limit.
Dang.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I think some of them are bots, so I've been like going through a lot of them and deleting them. But there's a few that message me and be like, "Oh man, we love Spirit Talkers. Keep it up, guys." So shout out to y'all that added me on there. So add me on Facebook if you want. But yeah, follow us on Instagram at Spirit Talkers Podcast, TikTok Spirit Talkers as well. Just everything Spirit Talkers Podcast. So I would say Google us and you would find us, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. So yeah, until next time, everybody. Smudge up.
Mother.